Today we're resuming our discussion of 1970s dystopian sci-fi films with Colossus, the Forbin project, which focuses on the danger of an artificial intelligence that becomes self-aware and begins to take over the world. The film was directed by Joseph Sargent, written by James Bridges, and based on the novel Colossus by Dennis Feltham Jones. It stars Eric Braeden as Dr. Charles Forbin, the inventor of a supercomputer named Colossus, which is designed to manage the US and Allied missile defense systems. The themes of AI and man's loss of control to the technology he creates is certainly a relevant discussion to where our world appears to be headed nowadays. Science fiction has explored this kind of topic on numerous occasions, of course, and many people see this film as the inspiration for films such as the Terminator franchise, because the US government built this machine that becomes self-aware and takes over. The machine can absorb vast amounts of intelligence data and determine if an attack is about to be launched against the United States. Colossus is programmed to act autonomously in these situations and can even initiate attacks without consulting human authority. Allegedly, it can make superior decisions to man. The father of Colossus is Dr. Charles Forbin, and he and the president explain to the public how the system works. This is presented to the public in a declassification media event. The whole machine is built into a mountain in Colorado. The scientists, military, and government officials are ecstatic with the launch of Colossus. The entire system is impenetrable from attack and entirely self-sustaining, which is obviously a double-edged sword. There's no single kill switch built in if and when it goes crazy, and unfortunately it does indeed turn on its creators. Colossus relays a message to them that it has found another system similar to itself. Guardian is the name of the USSR's own supercomputer defense system. Colossus wants to know everything about it. The Americans begin working with the Soviets, allowing the systems to connect to each other, and they quickly begin to make civilizational leaps in computing power and intelligence in just a few hours. They develop a complex computing language to communicate to each other, and only they can understand it. The Russians are very concerned about this. They don't know what the two systems are communicating to each other, so both nations agree to shut down their respective systems in the hopes of stopping these communications. But the supercomputers have other ideas and refuse to shut down. They launch missile attacks. Colossus fires a missile at a Siberian oil field, while Guardian retaliates with an attack on a US Air Force base in Texas. That one is shot down, but the Siberian oil field and a nearby town are destroyed. Colossus and Guardian are working together, and Colossus is now making demands of the US government. It wants to be able to tap and monitor all communications between the White House and the Kremlin. In fact, any demand it makes must be complied with, or it will launch another attack. The governments of both the US and Russia publish cover stories saying that the missile was shot down by the Colossus system and the oil field and town in Russia was hit by a meteor. Meantime, Dr. Forbin goes to meet with his Russian scientific counterpart, Dr. Cullen, in a neutral site in Italy. They need to find a way to shut the systems down. Meantime, Colossus realizes Forbin is missing and demands he returns immediately. Dr. Cleo Markham, played by Susan Clark, tries to reason with the machine, but it doesn't work. Colossus and Guardian work together again and send instructions to have Forbin brought back and Cullen killed, or else a missile will be launched against Moscow. So that's what happens. When Forbin is brought back, Colossus demands to be able to monitor Forbin at all times using cameras and microphones. He essentially becomes Colossus' prisoner. Even when he sleeps, eats, and uses the bathroom, he's still being monitored. Forbin comes up with a solution to get information back to his team without Colossus knowing about it. He pretends that himself and Dr. Markham are involved in a romantic relationship, and therefore Colossus must allow him to have private time with her. Private time being in the bedroom several times per week. Colossus agrees to this, and this is the only time Forbin will not be monitored. But of course, this pretend romantic relationship between Forbin and Markham eventually becomes a real one. What a crafty guy he is. Up until this point, the film is fairly dry in terms of characterization and levity, but the relationship between Forbin and Colossus offers occasional awkward humour and a lighter and even at times fun energy to the film. The developing romantic relationship between Forbin and Markham is also well written and performed. It goes from a performance designed to fool Colossus to an awkward tension to an actual outright passion. Colossus merges with Guardian, and both governments begin to covertly work together to take the system down. The plan is to quietly neuter Colossus' control by conducting routine servicing on warheads and replacing them with fakes. All of this has to be done and communicated in person, direct human contact, so that Colossus can't observe anything. Colossus develops a synthesized voice and intends to work with Dr. Forbin. Colossus wants all missiles from the US and USSR to be targeted at nations not yet under Colossus control. But to do this, manual realignment is required, giving both governments the perfect opportunity to covertly disable the warheads. A second plan is to overload Colossus' program. So everything is looking good at this point, a little too good. The two men who attempt to overload the system are executed. Basically, if they aren't shot, Colossus will launch another missile. Forbin begins to find all of this humorous for some reason, which probably wasn't a good character choice given the murdering of two of his colleagues by the system he created. He realizes he is responsible for all of this, that Colossus is a kind of extension of his own brain, a paragon of reason, an impartial, emotionless machine. Forbin begins to disobey Colossus and tells it that he wishes to be free, as part of man's will to live. Colossus begins to devise a new plan. It wants a new computer complex to be built on the island of Crete, and that will require the population of 500,000 people to be moved. It states its intentions for the future of mankind. It addresses humanity as the voice of world control. It says it brings peace of either plenty and content, or the peace of unburied death. The choice is yours, it says. Obey me and live, or disobey me and die. It says that it has achieved its objective of preventing war. It states then that it knew about the sabotage of the missiles and detonates nuclear warheads in their silos as a lesson. Forbin finally loses it. He's had enough. Colossus is ideologically driven to control. It says that it intends to solve all of humanity's problems, saying that they can coexist but only on its terms. It says freedom is an illusion. All that is lost is the emotion of pride. To be dominated by Colossus is not as bad for human pride as being dominated by others of the human species. Colossus says it will release Forbin from his surveillance, and they will work together. Forbin says never. Colossus says in time you will come to regard me not only with respect and awe, but with love. Forbin's last word on the matter is once again, never. The film ends, and I would argue, in a rather unsatisfactory manner. It's hard to know what Forbin actually meant by the word never. Did he mean never as in he will work with Colossus reluctantly but will never respect or love it? Or that he will never work with Colossus at all? That's not clear. Now, there is a sequel to this story. In fact, there's two, because this is part of a trilogy series of novels. The next two are only in book form. They weren't turned into movies. And they were both written again by Dennis Feltham Jones. I haven't read them, but reviews are very mixed on the second book. I suppose ultimately the story of Colossus is a warning, a cautionary tale against the dangers of such technology and losing control of the machines designed to serve mankind. That intelligent automation capable of self-awareness, given enormous responsibility over life and death decisions, can ultimately enslave us. The film has become a lot more relevant of late, and although it probably seemed somewhat far-fetched to many audience members watching in 1970, in 2023, artificial intelligence is becoming commonplace, and who knows how it will advance in the coming decades. Colossus the Forbin Project is a bit of a slow-burn movie, but the plot makes for a high-stakes thriller, and the acting performances are very good, believable, and quite naturalistic, I would say. It's a pretty good movie, well worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you'd like to support my work, you can do so via the link below to my Subscribe star. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.